Hello everyone, welcome back to the sewing workshop, and we're still tackling zips. We're going to start with two different zip constructions, one today and one next week, to do with a very decorative zip like this. I've chosen for this very first one a plastic one, but it's got a very nice top. What we need for this is the outer shell fabric, and that represents, maybe this could be a really cute neckline. So what I can do here is I can actually draw myself a nice round neckline in, and I also draw down where I'm going to have my zip. This method is really fast, so all you have to do is to check here that you have enough zip going further than what your opening is going to be, and say, this is my opening now. We are going to work the lining, which is also right sides up, so right sides facing, all in one go. And what you want to do is take your little ruler and then go a half a centimetre over. There we go. And I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine now, and we're going to stitch around the neckline all the way down here and across and back up and around there. So it's very, very simple. Okay, so what I'm going to do is simply sew along here. And then when I get to the corner, you want to reduce the stitch length, and I'm going down to 1.5. So, and I'm going to do like a mini curve almost, because if you're doing a corner, what will happen is actually it'll come out again like a nose, and we want to avoid those noses. And then I can go back up to 2. Stitch on your line. As you come down, you want to reduce the stitch length again. You can even go down to 1, because we're going to cut into this, so we don't want this to rip and fray. So stitch length 1, go across to the other side. This is almost like making a pocket, so good start, because pockets are next. So, and then stitch length comes back up, all the way up. Make sure that you have the same distance here from that stitching line to your presser foot, almost more important than what you've drawn, because you want it to be even. Stitch length back down and move. Yum, yum. There we go. So stitch length back up. It's a bit of this stitch length change all the time. And that would now be my neckline, coming down here and back up. So now I'm going to cut in here. Again, you don't go to the end. Pretend it's a pocket now, a welt pocket. Good practice. Cut to either side. There we go. And of course I would reduce this here as well. And I'm going to cut round like that. So, and all I have to do now is turn it, move over to the ironing board, and we'll give this a good press. So now I'm going to move my corner out as well, and if I pull on this too much, it will give me a nose. Now I've already got a little round bit, and still you can see it wants to push up. So what you do is you use your pin to just make sure that you get a really nice corner there, and then roll with your fingers your neckline. If this was a proper dress, you could do a little bit of understitching as well, but yeah. And then we're going to do the lower part here as well. Make sure that you really pull this right there, so it's nice and snug. So now we want to put the zip just underneath here. So of course this part needs to be folded forwards towards your zip. Okay, so I'm going to just march that underneath here and put a pin in. Right. And then I'm just going to stitch in the zip all the way around. Like that. Coming back up the other side. to move this so it's nice and straight. So what you can see here, because I've got a really big zip, I'm just noticing that when we were sewing across and down and back up, if we sewn a little bit further over that way, it would sit so much nicer. Watch this. Can you see this? So what I've decided to do is, and I'm not going to film this for you, but I'm going to take this back off and I'm going to just sew it in a little bit more there, so we've got a little bit like that, and that will make it sit really beautifully. Right, so I've sewn now from here upwards and into it a little bit more, because now when I turn it, that will give me that extra little bit more room that I need for my zip. There's no cheating here. So now it's coming over a little bit further. You can see that it's going wider at the top. So when I put this under now again, it will sort out that bit at the top. So I'm going to fold it back in. I hope that you can see the difference here now. This is not bulging anymore. It's nice and smooth, and that's why I did it again. So let's stitch this in. So I'm going to sew this in now, and I'm pretending that I'm coming along my neckline and stitching that in. I've also extended my stitch length to 3.5. And the other thing I have done is I've done the tension up to about 8, because I'm using a thicker thread to go along here, because I think that would look very nice. And as I come up here, it's almost like a curve. So I'm going to stitch that in and make it look really nice. So I'll come around here. And because my presser foot now sits on the teeth, you do not need to do a zipper foot. In fact, that would make it much harder to sew down. And I'm going to still go with the distance here, that little red line there. That's what I'm lining up with while I'm going down, so that it keeps the same all the way. And I can already see that that is going to look quite pretty. And so very slowly go down, so that you keep the distance right, and no reason to rush this. And picking is something I really hate, and I'm sure you do too. So no unpicking here. Then when we turn this, we want to have the needle down very slowly. That was the sound of plastic. There we go. The only problem is with the electronic machines is that you can't adjust the stitch length while you're going, which you can with a mechanical machine. So if that gone a little bit too far, it would not be so good. On this occasion, it just works out super. So there we go. A little bit further before I open up my zip again. And now I'm coming to my curve again. To come up and go around, then it is the other way around. Oh, speed! Right, that's my zip done. I think that it looks really nice with this really structural thread that I've used. That is a buttonhole thread, so it's much thicker. And on the other side, we've got this now, which I'm not too happy with. So what I'm going to do is, I had it all folded in nicely, but I am just going to chop this off. I'm going to cut it here. Okay, so I've got my edge now. So now I'm going to just quickly bind what I've just done there. And like the binding that I've shown you in the binding video, it's always much easier if you start what you're doing from the underside, so to speak, so that we can then roll it out and make it really nice like that. So I'm going to stitch this across there, and you can see it's a bit longer either side. So we're going to sew straight across. Of course, you've got to be careful. If you've got metal, you need to do it stitch by hand. If you've got plastic, it'll do it. It won't be fantastic, but it will do it. There we go. So now I can just turn this in if I wanted to, from both sides. Turn it in, turn it over. There we go. And I'm just going to pin this. You could use bias binding that you can buy from the shop instead of doing this, of course. So, oops. And now I'm just going straight across, and it's going to just really struggle again, or no, very good. And secure it. And now I've got a really nice bit of binding down there, which is not going to hurt the body, and also is going to keep this in nicely. And that's it basically. I've bound it here to make it nice and neat. And this is just a very simple way of doing it. And I'm sure you agree, you get a really fantastic result. Bye and see you next time.